Hey, movie fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Uncharted Media Podcast. This is episode 144. If you haven't already seen the title or haven't already seen this movie, we're going to be dipping deep into the spoiler territory for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings this week. This is going to be a full spoiler discussion. Nothing is off limits, so if you have not seen Shang-Chi, tune in for the news, and then you are free to peace out. But if you have seen Shang-Chi and want to hear our thoughts, or if you just don't care about spoilers, follow us in the discussion this week, as both Josh and I will have very positive things to say about this movie. Josh in particular, because I'm proud to say, Josh was the first person I texted after I got out of the theater Friday before I went to work. I saw the movie, and as soon as I got out of the theater, I'm like, I have a feeling this is going to be Josh's favorite MCU movie, and I was not far off in that assessment at all. I texted him, like, it's going to be your favorite. He's just like, all right, because we know on the pod how much you love Ragnarok, but
yeah, but like at the same time, I love a good martial arts movie. And
this is made for Josh.
I have so many thoughts and so much to say. Without dipping into the spoilers, the moment I knew that I was in for something special, I was walking up to my theater. We got there super early because it wasn't assigned seating, so we wanted to make sure that we got a good seat. So we were there like as the previous group was coming out, and literally we saw a couple come out of the movie, wait for 2 minutes, and then walk back in to go see the next scene. I was like, oh, okay. All right, we're in for something here.
This movie feels like it was specifically targeted for Josh and addresses Josh's complaints with the MCU. Like, we'll delve into it in the discussion, but like a lot of the nitpicks Josh has had with the MCU over the past decade, like the MCU is just like, that annoying Josh Johnson, we've got to appease him and him alone for this movie. But apparently it's not just Josh that's happy with this movie. This is like uber high on critics and audience scores, and as we'll get into on our news topic later, crushing it at the box office. Absolutely. And it's saving the box office, unlike the likes of any other movies that have come along recently. Before we get into that, I'm trying to think if I've watched anything other than Shang-Chi recently. Work's just been a little crazy, so I haven't had prime viewing times, but should be able to watch something by next week. But other than Shang-Chi, which I really, really want to just rewatch that a few more times. It's just so good. Josh, besides Shang-Chi, you watching anything else?
All right, let's see. So this week I watched season 1 of Into the Badlands because my dad has discovered binging Netflix. So Into the Badlands, Frontier season 1 as well. And then for kicks and gigs, I'm kind of working on some side projects and stuff like that. I've got a lot of time in the mornings now, and like my brain feels most active and productive in the morning, so I've been doing more writing. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna revisit some of my favorites, like movies that didn't do well, and see what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong, blah blah. So I watched Prince of Persia, and then which is just it's still so good, like so good. Easy 9 out of 10, like. So
I don't know if I'll go that high, but I love it.
No, after rewatch, I definitely go that high. Yeah, the plot's predictable, and like, yeah, it's a video game movie, but like, Jake is so magnetic.
He's so baby-faced in that movie.
It's so good. It is so hard to not cheer for him.
Have I ever told you about the M'Baku?
And like, my dad watched it with
not
me.
M'Baku. That's somebody else. M'Baka.
M'Baku is the King
Black Panther.
But my dad and my youngest brother had never seen it, and they watched it with me, and they're like, "That's great!" And I was like, "Yeah, it's fantastic! I know." And then I watched John Carter again. That is not as good as I remember it.
Oh, you shut up! You shut up!
Watch it. The slow stuff is unbearably slow. Like the scenes between John and the princess when they're like talking about cause and stuff like that, it's like cringy sci-fi, but like not the good kind of cringy sci-fi. It hurts a little bit.
I will have none of that. I'll have none of that blasphemy.
I'm not saying I love it any less because it still holds a very special place in my heart, but like it definitely was eye-opening to be like, okay, well maybe there's certain aspects of sci-fi and fantasy that don't exactly work if you don't do them right. Anyway, it was just cool. And then of course I watched Shang-Chi, and it was fantastic, and I literally wanted to be like that couple, and as soon as I left the theater I was like, I want to see it again. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. And before we get into the news and before we get into our discussion, we will try our best to pronounce things correctly. But if a Shang-Chi slips out instead of a Shang or Shang-Chi slips out,
or Sean,
I think like, is it just Shang or is it like Sean with a G type of pronunciation, like a Shang?
From what I got in the movie, I'm pretty sure it's like Shang-Chi.
It is not Shang. It's not Shang-Chi. I know that's the one that it is not.
That's literally how the joke though. It's like, why did you change your name to Sean?
Because his name is Shang-Chi.
Yeah, it's exactly. So I don't.
So
that's how I got.
If we let a Shang-Chi out, we're trying to not. But it's so hard as Westerners to not say it how it's literally spelled, and it's got a different inflection. So, without further ado, let's get into some news because we've got some stuff, mostly positive.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, kicking us off with the news, we've got good news. Very, very good news, as Shang-Chi is on its way to more or less saving the box office for the time being, as Shang-Chi is way, way over-delivering at the box office, as I believe the opening weekend was close to like 83 million, and then the 4-day weekend with Monday's total pushed it over 90 million domestically, which, at least for me, is just really, really gratifying, just because, as we talked about on the podcast not too long ago, Bob Chapek just seemed to not give two flying craps about this movie. He just went on record like, we're going to release this theatrically because we see this as a really interesting experiment, to which all the actors and people involved, but especially Shang-Chi himself, Simu Liu, was just like, we are not an experiment. We are the first Asian-led superhero movie. We are not an experiment. We are a major step forward, because Chapek's just an idiot. I think a lot of people underestimated the box office potential for this movie. Both you and I were like, this could very well be a lot like a Black Panther, of representing a culture and a demographic that has not been as well represented on the big screen as it potentially could be. So I think this is a great sign, and because Sony is the most reactionary company in the world, even more so than Warner Brothers, I think due to the success of Shang-Chi, Venom Let There Be Carnage has been moved up 2 weeks to October 1st now instead of October 15th, so it's not coming off the same day as Halloween Kills anymore. That's right, you move aside for the great lord that is Michael Myers, their Venom. But I think this is a really, really positive sign. I know there's so many people going into this going, this will be Disney's first flop. Even I got the sense within Marvel that this was a movie that they were happy with. But I don't know about you, Josh, but it just feels like lately all the press and all the attention we've heard is very Eternals focused. Of Kevin Feige, whenever he's asked, is just like, we're really excited about the Eternals. Chloe Zhao knocked it out of the park with the Eternals. We're like, that's cool, but I want to see this guy split kick dudes on a bus, and that split kicking dude ended up delivering one of the best origin movies in the entire MCU. But do you see this as a positive trend for movies? Are you surprised about the box office numbers? What do you think of Shang-Chi just crushing it at the opening weekend, Josh?
It's extremely gratifying because I think this movie needed to do really well. I mean, yes, I feel bad because this movie was totally for me, and I am super down for this kind of movie, but I understand a little bit where Chapek would be coming from as far as a quote-unquote experiment, because this leans, a little bit of spoilers, leans really heavy into Chinese mythology and stuff like that, and I don't know why, like, I can see people. I actually have friends who were like, yeah, I wasn't really interested in it. And I was like, no, like, it's really, really good. Like, go see it. And now because of word of mouth, they're going to go see it. So I can kind of see where somebody like Chapek would be like, well, this movie is kind of different. And two in my opinion, all the best ways. It's different. It takes its source material very seriously, and I appreciate the crap out of that because it'd been very easy to just turn this into a movie full of just Asian stereotypes. That being said, it's crazy to me that we're in a place in the world where an $80 million opening is considered a big deal.
I mean, like, even without the pandemic, I think that would be a big deal. Yeah. Even without the pandemic. Because the weird thing is, this is a Labor Day weekend record, which is just bizarre to me, that the previous record holder was Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007, which made $35 million. I'm going, first of all, why the heck do you release a Halloween movie over Labor Day weekend? And two, that's it? That's the record? People have off 35? Labor Day. Why don't we put like the last big gasp of a summer blockbuster there? It's weird to me that was the previous record holder and such a low number, but this like shattered that record by almost threefold. I think the big takeaway for this, and my big question is, I don't want to keep like moving the goalpost, but I think it's important to think about yes, this opening weekend was great. What's the second weekend going to look like? And I think this time around, as opposed to some other movies, I think the second weekend will be strong due to word of mouth. Black Widow had a really strong opening weekend, but then just crapped the bed second weekend because of premiere access, and it was pirated like crazy. This, because it's only theatrical, there's going to be, I'm not saying there's going to be no pirating, that will always be a thing, but there'll be significantly less pirating. Word of mouth will get people to go back to it. Also, more importantly, there's like no direct competition for this movie for the rest of the month. The next movie that might challenge it is Venom, and then James Bond's No Time to Die. But those aren't until October. So this movie will probably go unchallenged for the rest of the month. That's nothing but fantastic news. This movie should easily go to that $500-600 million mark. And right now, in the pandemic era, Fast 9 is the top box office movie. I don't think that's staying much longer.
Nah.
Because it's doing really, really well domestically. I haven't seen internationally, but I'd imagine internationally it's going to do pretty well too. It's got the big names overseas like Tony Leung and Michelle Yeoh, who are phenomenal in the movie. This movie doesn't feel like it's catered to a foreign audience, but it's made with a foreign audience in mind. Like, it's not like Transformer sequels where they're blatantly just going, let's go over to China and Japan just so we can say it's got international appeal. This has purpose and intentionality behind what it's doing. So I think this time around, we've had several what I'll call false starts in terms of hope for the box office. Like Godzilla vs. Kong did very well opening weekend. Black Widow did pretty decent opening weekend, but all those movies had home distribution. Fast and Furious, I don't think had the strongest of weekends, but it's just been steady because it hadn't really had that much competition. I see the exact same thing happen here to Shang-Chi, and for most studios, I think the success of Shang-Chi and it being a theatrical only release will signify the end of delays. However, not for every studio, but we'll get into that a little later. Josh, how much of an eye are you keeping on the second weekend? Do you think it's important? Not? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's pretty important. I think you and I always talk about how the success of a movie isn't necessarily on the opening weekend. It's the legs that it has afterwards.
Greatest Showman.
To me, that's to me how you can tell if a movie's doing well. I hope it does really well in the second weekend. I hope that more people go see this film, not just because I loved it, but I think we keep saying it's the start of the new phase, like after every project that comes out, but like this is like the start. This is the film start of the new phase. Yeah. And boy, howdy, am I ready.
Yeah, I think this should give studios and theaters a lot of confidence going forward. You made a really good movie. You didn't put it online. You're just getting phenomenal word of mouth. It's going to go unchallenged for a while. This should be a recipe for box office success. And I'm going to go on record now. We can obviously fact check this next week, but I think this weekend it will have less than a 50% drop at the box office. Which,
Okay.
if for movies, that's a really good thing. You want to aim for that 50. I think it'll fall under that 50%. So I think this weekend it'll make $40 to $45 million this weekend, just because I don't think it's really going to have any major competition. I think it's going to have really strong legs going forward, and I think this was the start of Phase 4 that Marvel really actually needed, because this movie, we'll get more into it in the discussion. Shang-Chi truly does feel like the start of a new era. It feels not like Iron Man in terms of setting up new things, but kind of like Iron Man, so to speak. Yeah. Well, we talk about great starts to things with Shang-Chi. Now it seems like we might definitively have some not-so-pretty endings for some other things, as Joe and Anthony Russo, the Russo Brothers, who have given us some of the best movies in the MCU so far, with their first one being Captain America: The Winter Soldier, all the way up to Avengers Endgame. It seems like due to the Scarlett Johansson debacle over at Disney, their futures seem rather uncertain as to whether or not they will be rejoining the MCU in any capacity, due to wondering how they will be compensated going forward. I'm normally one to bag on Chapek, and rest assured, I will bag on Chapek for sure in this. However, my first initial reaction when I saw this was, wait, the Russo brothers were coming back to begin with? Like, I thought after Endgame, they're like, yeah, we've done our part, we're bowing out, and we're working on some other stuff. And not to be mean, but so far their projects have not really worked out too well outside of the MCU, because as much as we all love Chadwick Boseman, 21 Bridges did not do particularly well. Their most recent movie, Cherry, with our boy Tom Holland, did not also do very well, was not received too well. It was accused of Oscar baiting pretty hard. So we're kind of wondering how much of this was you and how much of this was Kevin Feige. I would like to see them back, just because I thought they were really excellent fits for the MCU. I don't think they did a single bad movie. I know Josh does not like Civil War, but from a film perspective, Civil War is not a bad movie at all. It's one of the best ones. Winter Soldier is still my favorite MCU movie. Josh, that has been replaced for him with something else.
Yep, Shang-Chi, sorry.
And Ragnarok probably for you. It's probably still higher.
Up too.
I would like to see them back, but at the same time, this is not surprising. We knew that the Scarlett Johansson thing was going to cause massive ripple effects, and this just seems to be the first domino to officially fall. We've heard some rumblings of some other people that have been dissatisfied. Josh, were you expecting the Russo brothers to come back at any point? Does this surprise you, though, that they are even more hesitant about coming back now? Thoughts?
I mean, I'm with you. I was like, they were coming back. There was no announcement. What in the world? But there's also the part of me that was like, well, guys, the men of Disney have had no problem getting compensation, so I don't know what you're so worried about. But maybe it's a statement. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know what's going. Nobody knows what's going on behind the scenes. But at the same time, I can appreciate someone or a group of people being like, you know what? This company is known for not compensating certain kinds of directors and producers. So we're not going to work for them. So I appreciate that, if that's the case. I don't know, dude. I just the lawsuit thing is a lot of I don't know what's going to happen, because it does have the potential to put a pretty big dent in Disney, if not hurt them significantly.
I don't think financially, but yes, I'll delve into that more.
It's I don't know, man. I'm kind of with you. Like, the Russo brothers haven't exactly done much since Endgame. That's really anything to shake a stick at. 21 Bridges is a cool movie, just didn't do well. So but it's, you know, yeah, I kind of I don't want to say I don't care, but like, okay, so, you know what I mean?
Yeah, with fan culture, we're so very much like, we try and avoid it, but obviously guilty of this too, of what have you done for us lately? And lately, the Russos really haven't done a lot, it's so to speak. You talked about Disney being damaged by the Scarlett Johansson thing. I don't think they'll be damaged too much financially just because they're Disney. They've got all the money in the world, especially since they jacked up the prices for annual passes, and they're just nickel and diming you any chance they can get nowadays, thanks to Chapek.
Fast pass.
Yeah, paid fast pass. What is this bull? As I clamor that Universal has had paid fast passes for years, and I don't complain about there. The hypocrisy of me. But you said it won't hurt them financially, which I agree with, because at most pay up $30-50 million maybe, which is pocket change for them. I think it'll hurt them in terms of getting new talent going forward. I think this has really hurt relations, which in the long term could absolutely hurt you financially if it doesn't show up directly. Like, image is important for a company. As much as we will never fully know the full story, Warner Brothers is still feeling it to this day with the Ray Fisher, Walter Hamada situation. We don't know all the details there, but people get in fiery debates about that. And Warner Brothers' reputation, as much as we like DC stuff, Warner Brothers' reputation still to this day is there a reason you're putting movies like Batgirl and Blue Beetle on HBO Max instead of in theaters? Like, it just seems a little awkward. So, yeah, this, I don't blame them at all. It doesn't surprise me, but it is kind of like, I didn't think you were coming back to the MCU to begin with. As far as we know right now, the current standing with the Scarlett Johansson thing in Disney is that, like, Disney's hoping to settle. I'm just like,
of course you are.
Can we take this out of court? And there's like legal and financial reasons why both of them should consider it, but at the same time, Scarlett, go get your money. It's your money, and you need it now. Like,
absolutely.
Disney wants to more or less take this out of court just for the public image of, like, we want this to go away, even if it means them having to pay a little extra. Like, it's basically hush money at this point. But yeah, it's tarnishing their brand, but it's no one's fault but Disney. They brought them on themselves, and we've said for a while that if they don't repair things quickly, they're going to lose some people, not just actors, like the Russo brothers. You and I both think James Gunn is probably on his way out after Guardians 3. Can't really say Taika Waititi, because Taika's doing his Star Wars thing. I think Taika's going to be in there the long haul. But I would not be surprised if we see some Disney people jump a ship, not just to Warner Brothers, but to Paramount or to Universal, to other studios, if Disney continues to treat their talent like they are, not just on camera but behind the camera, like the Russo brothers, who have made billions and billions of dollars for Disney. And if Disney doesn't want to work with them or meet them on their terms, then yeah, Disney, you deserve to lose them to better people. Now, next up, oh boy, I don't know how I feel about this. First off, I don't think I realized that Zack Snyder was doing the new Aquaman movie. Because look at that suit. It's just like Zack Snyder did it himself. Now, I joke, but James Wan recently took to social media, so did Jason Momoa, and revealed the new Aquaman suit for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Why did you have to mess with perfection? Like, the gold and the green is literally perfect. Now, as much as I love Aquaman, and I've read some of the newer stuff, like New 52 onward, I don't think I actually ever realized that during the 80s he had a blue suit, and everyone's coming out of the woodwork going, oh yeah, I've always known that Aquaman had a blue suit in the comics at one point. I'm just like, just stop. Even I can admit I didn't know this was a thing. That being said, I don't like it, but I will wait to see how it plays out in the movie. Yeah. Like, as much as I don't like the Night Monkey suit in Spider-Man Far From Home, it's at least explained in the narrative of why he's wearing it as opposed to a Spider-Man suit, even if it is really, really flimsy logic of, oh, he's in a different suit. That clearly isn't Spider-Man, even though he moves and has the exact same power set as Spider-Man. Like, come on now. You just want to sell more toys. Nothing. Like, they clearly just want to sell more toys, but whatever. Yeah. I'm more actually surprised because this is going to be a weird detail to be hung up on. I thought Momoa was going to be more blonde for this movie. I thought he teased that he was going to have more blonde this time around. Like, his normal long flowing hair, but more blonde this time. So he's closer to, like, the Justice League animated series, in which case, if we get that type of Aquaman out of Momoa, like Savage King Arthur, dude, yes. Here's the thing. Looking at it, it's kind of growing on me. It's still the color, though. You really nailed it with the orange and green. But the pattern and the overall layout of the suit, I think I could get used to. It's how it's used in the movie. I kind of am tempted to do a mock-up of what would this suit and its detailing look like with the Aquaman colors. Like, have the gold on top and the green on bottom. Because texture-wise, it might actually work better. Because the texture looks not too bad, but again, we'll see how it plays into the movie, whether this is like a scene or if this is the suit that he's wearing for the majority of the movie. Now, they did say he will still have his gold and green suit in this movie. This is a secondary suit, a stealth suit for certain missions. I'm going, so toy sales. That's what this is. That's what it always comes down to. Josh, I'm sure you're going to be more positive about this than me because I'm always negative Nelly, but what do you think?
I don't mind it. Sure, why not? I think, to me, if anything, this confirms that they're going to kind of try to rehab the lost kingdom of the trench, which, it'd be really cool if you went to the trench and lost a hand. It'd be so amazing.
I think the chances are getting better and better, man. I think the chances are getting better and better.
If they go to the trench and he's like, quote unquote, supposed to be stealthy, this is Arthur Curry we're talking about, bro. Like, there's nothing stealthy about this man.
He literally goes into battle surfing on a parademon and screaming in delight. My man!
He literally, like, when they were like, hey, like, we need water to open this artifact, he's like, I could have just peed on it. Like, this is the man. We're like, all right, dude, you're gonna stealth your way into the Lost Kingdom, and we're gonna save all these people, blah 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 blah, and nothing bad's gonna happen. No, like, get out of here. I don't mind the suit. That's fine. Like, I'm kind of waiting to see how it's gonna be used in the movie to really have any judgment. I don't mind it. I'm fine. I don't think this is the final thing. I don't think that's his final hair. I think I wouldn't reveal the blonde hair right off the bat either, especially with DC fandom right around the corner.
Good call.
I got the good calls, my man.
But also, the blonde hair, to me, at least makes sense, because I appreciate that his hair is kind of gross and stringy in that picture, because if you're underwater, that's going to happen.
No way, really? But yeah, no, I don't mind the suit. It's fine. I agree. It's mostly just for toy sales, but you can't really, like, fight them on it because it's a comic book movie. So yeah, I don't even really know how much. Well, no, I'll take that back. I was going to say, I don't know how much toy sales actually factor in anymore, but, like,
I was kind of wondering the same thing, because, like, I don't feel like I see as many toys nowadays in stores like Walmart and Target. Like, I still see them, but, like, when we were kids, I felt like there was more of that. Like, that I felt like was almost more of a financial success for studios than the actual movies themselves. Hence why Power Rangers was a thing for so long. Whether you watched it or not, you still bought the toys. But yeah, I'll be very curious to see stealth Aquaman, because this version of Aquaman is not stealth. I'm just picturing like a Leroy Jenkins moment of like Mara, Volko, and someone else is like got this plan and just like, all right, here's what we need to do, and then Aquaman just comes in. All right, thumbs up, let's do this. All right, my man. Just runs in full gusto with it, just trying to just like running full speed ahead. That's.
Well, I mean, like, this is the same guy in the first Aquaman movie. They were like, him and Mara are like, how are we gonna get through all these creatures to get down to the bottom of the trench? And Arthur's like, I don't know, we can just dive in there and hope for the best. Like, yeah, like, come on, man. I don't know how stealthy he's gonna be.
Which the whole Mara thing is its own separate situation
Yeah.
here of people rightly so. They're like, the suit's okay, but why are we still sticking with Mara? And we don't want to get into all that here, but I'm like, yeah, I think Warner Brothers is really underestimating this whole fan backlash to Amber Heard thing. Like, I don't think it's going to go over well. I'm not saying the movie will drastically suffer because she's still in it. However, I do believe people when they say they're not going to see this movie in theaters because of her. I know a lot of times people talk big and then they'll still end up seeing the movie anyway. This is one of those times that I could see people and their fervent love of Johnny Depp going,
yeah,
nope, I will not see this. And rightly so. If he doesn't have a job, she doesn't have a job until the whole situation gets worked out, in my mind. Like, we don't know the full story. If one of them has to sit on the bench, then both of them has to sit on the bench in timeout until we get this thing figured out.
But like at this point, if they're waiting to physically voice those opinions until the movie's out, she's already gotten paid. So it's not like that really affects a whole lot.
True. So we talked about Shang-Chi saving the box office, but apparently Paramount don't care. Paramount wants the world to be 100% back to normal and totally safe before they release any movie whatsoever, which is kind of the trend that Sony's been following. But in my mind, Sony has at least had good reason why, because Sony themselves does not have a streaming service and they rely on the box office revenue. Paramount's decision to move Top Gun Maverick, the next Mission Impossible, and Jackass Forever, I actually strongly disagree with this move, because Sony, as I said, they need the box office revenue because they don't have a streaming service. Paramount does, guys. Paramount Plus is a thing, and they are not taking their own streaming service seriously. Paramount Plus is an afterthought for so many people. You've got Disney Plus, you've got Netflix, you've got Hulu as the big dogs. Then in your B tier, you've got HBO Max, Shudder, Tubi, I don't know, some other streaming services. Then you've got 50 Feet of Crap, and then you've got Paramount Plus, which from all understanding, they're good for like catching up with old shows like Nickelodeon stuff, but Paramount keeps announcing these things like the Seth Rogen TMNT movies. They've got multiple TNT reboots in the works, or all their Star Trek projects. Are you serious about this streaming service or not? Now, I've been decrying for a while movies being day and date release, but at least some of these can go on your streaming service. Like, don't get me wrong, I was not looking forward to Jackass Forever, but that one would be a perfect one to put on Paramount Plus. Don't delay it anymore. Just say, now exclusively playing on Paramount Plus. We're getting a Paranormal Activity later this year on Paramount Plus. This is a move that I really do not understand. Sony, sure, I get it. They more or less lend out their IPs to other people. Paramount Plus, are you actually being serious about wanting your product to do well? Maybe you charge like $10-15 for people to watch it on Paramount Plus. I know we decry that strategy, but you've got to do something. And this is just bizarre to me. Like, this also, keep in mind, this announcement was made like a day or two before we found out about Shang-Chi's box office. So now Paramount looks real dumb of going, all right, we don't think the box office is safe. We're going to delay some of our highest profile movies and Jackass. So then Shang-Chi comes out and destroys the box office. Now Paramount's just going, balls. Like, there's no way they look good in this, man, right? Or you see different?
No, I'm kind of with you. I think you're underestimating the appeal of Jackass.
Oh, no. Yeah, I'm saying that because Jackass, I think it would do well on Paramount Plus because I think as a movie, make a solid 50 to 75 million. Like, I think there is an audience for it, but it's not as high profile as Mission Impossible or Top Gun. I think those two movies, because they're bigger budgets, are more...
That's fair. Okay.
Jackass,
oddly, both...
Jackass will make its money back because it has a budget of like $2. So... But don't get me wrong, I understand that Jackass will always have a market, despite people going eye-rolling at the trailer and going... Even me who didn't watch...
such a great
trailer. I don't mind the trailer because even as someone that didn't watch Jackass, I've never seen a single movie, you kind of do get that nostalgia from the way that they play off the trailer of going, just get your buddies together and watch some dumb movie like you used to. I'm like, I understand that a lot, and I think that's a smart play for that trailer, but I don't understand the rationale. That to me is a movie that would fit well on streaming, but
yeah, I see, and even then, I think pushing it back that far, that feels like a summer movie. That feels like, hey, it's summer, for the sake of it, let's go see Jackass Forever like we used to as kids, or let's go see, even like Top Gun Maverick feels like a great summer movie to go see with your dad that you haven't talked to, your back home from college from your first year or second year or whatever. Time to spend some time with your dad because you realize that your relationship isn't that strong. And then not speaking from experience, don't worry about it.
That
but like,
got
be like,
very
hey,
dark real quick, man. Josh is going through some things, man.
I feel like to push it that far back is,
and by extension, we're moving Mission Impossible from the summer to now a fall movie, which is bizarre.
That's so weird. That's a summer movie, which is crazy. 10 years ago, we would not be saying summer was a good time for movies, but like that is a summer movie. Like 10, 15 years, like summer movies.
Summer is always the best time for movies, though.
Nah, now it is.
No, summer blockbusters are not a new thing, man. They've been around since Jaws. Summer blockbusters. There's certain movies that, yes, you see them and you're like, yeah, that's specific season. Halloween should never come out in summer, H2O. As much as I love H2O.
Fair enough.
As much as I love H2O, that should never have come out in the summer.
I still feel that Mission Impossible that's a summer movie just as much as James Bond is.
Yeah,
and
which is now a fall release.
I know, which I think James Bond, you can kind of get away.
I don't know.
with
James
doing
Bond, I
a
can always
fall.
see as a Thanksgiving type movie.
Yeah, like you're in town to see your family, you and your cousin's going to go see some trash movie, so you go watch a James Bond movie. Anyway, but
wow.
I think especially
Somebody spitting Josh's coffee today.
Boo, boo, boo. Too bad I'm not having coffee. I'm having a Monster. Anyway,
Not a Bang?
No, Bang's not today. I was working 2 jobs for like a week, and I was like, I'm gonna need something to keep me going. And for some reason, my brain was like, hey, you know those mango juice Monsters? Let's get like a 12-pack of those. And so
drink them all at once.
Yeah, no. But regardless, I think before, maybe, but definitely after the opening box office of Shang-Chi, I think that that's not a good move by Paramount.
No.
Just to make that assumption of that people who are, especially just, I don't know, just make that assumption about people that the box offices aren't ready just because you can't blow it out of the water with, 20 million is like kind of, I don't know, that feels like kind of like greedy. Like, if we can't make 3 times our budget back, it's not worth it. Like, I hear you, but...
To be fair, though, Paramount has been in desperate need of hits, like big hits, because Paramount as a studio has been really struggling financially. So maybe they really do need the box office money, but at the same time, like, moving, let's say, Jackass Forever, moving that till next summer, do you really think that's going to make a big difference at the box office? Like, I don't think it makes a big difference, because I think that is a movie that, even if it only makes $30 million total, you're still in the positive for that. Because like I said, that has a budget of like $2. And if Eric Andre was available that day or not. Like, Jackass, no matter how much money it makes at the box office, will be lucrative. 1, because it'll always be an audience for stupid things. But 2, it's just cheap to make. And so, like, whether it makes $30 or $60 million, maybe it's just me, doesn't seem like it's going to be that big of a difference. Now, Mission Impossible and Top Gun, I can understand. But Top Gun was coming out in December. That's still a long way off. You still had time to make this judgment call. It's not like Sony going, we're going to change Venom's release date like 5 times, and the last one, we're going to move it up. Like, if Shang-Chi did not do well, I think they would have moved Venom again just because. They would have kept moving that goalpost. But, yeah, this is a dumb move to me, I think.
Yeah, it's just dumb all the way around, I think. I don't know. I think it just, even no matter how much money you're getting back from Jackass, like, it just feels like, I mean, use the example of New Mutants. Of, like, everybody is super, I'm not going to say super hyped, but, like, the community that wants to see Jackass is, like, super excited about it. And it's, like, and then you just moved it back a year, and you just hope that they're still going to go see it. I mean, they probably will, because we're all stupid, but that's not the point. But you know what I'm saying. Like, it just, I don't know.
Lastly, for our news is a really, really surprising one, just because I never thought this movie would actually get a sequel, and that is Gavin O'Connor's The Accountant, starring Ben Affleck, is slated to be getting a sequel. Now, Josh highly recommended this movie to me a while back, and I finally saw it, and it was fine. It was average. I think my expectations were a little too high just because I love Gavin O'Connor. Warrior is one of my favorite movies of all time. We will always rave about how much we love that movie here on the podcast. I believe he also did Miracle, which I also really, really enjoy. And I love Ben Affleck. I thought this movie was whatever. I thought it was kind of dull, not everyone's best foot forward. I thought the brother relationship just felt really kind of just tacked on at the last minute. Like, it felt like whatever Gavin O'Connor's going through in his personal life, he just really has a thing for brothers fighting against each other. And I don't think the brother dynamic worked in this nearly as well as it did in Warrior. There's a lot of different aspects to this that I think were interesting on paper, but I don't think necessarily worked too well in the movie. And that's why I think a sequel would be a good idea. Flesh this out a little more. Actually, I wouldn't have done a sequel. I would have done a TV show, like an HBO type show. If HBO was doing a series of this, of the story of Ben Affleck's accountant on a day-to-day basis. For those that don't know, he's high-functioning autism. So he's really, really good with numbers, but also he's very, very dangerous. So basically, picture a nerdy John Wick, except not as cool as John Wick, basically. I think that would lend itself better to a series than a movie. That being said, I'm a shill for Gavin O'Connor. You tell me he's doing anything, then I'm going to be interested. I'm still sad that he left the Suicide Squad, because as much as I love what James Gunn did with it, I was very curious to see what Gavin O'Connor was going to do with it, too. Josh, as someone that's more of a fan of The Accountant than I was, does the prospect of a sequel interest you, or are you just kind of whatever?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's okay, sure, why not? I don't see why not. I'm always down for more action movies, especially something that's a little bit more unique, like The Accountant is. Like, the first one is a little dull, and there's not a lot of stuff that works too great, but I like the idea, and I like the accountant character himself. So I wouldn't mind seeing another one, seeing what we can do with it. I mean, if anything, John Wick has proved that your second outing can be a better outing, too. Like, you can get better with every movie. You don't have to get worse. So, who knows?
I will say, though, that John Wick started off on a better foot. Like, there's no bad John Wick movie. They just kind of keep building on and improving upon each other. The first John Wick, I think, is better than the first Accountant. But I will agree with you. I think that the lore and the universe that they set up is interesting in The Accountant. Not nearly as interesting as John Wick, but that's just because John Wick has done such a fascinating job with its lore. But yeah, this is a very different type of action movie that I think could be interesting to explore more, even if the first one didn't necessarily connect super well with me. I think the cast is interesting. How much of the cast do you think would come back for a second one? Obviously, Ben Affleck would probably come back. Do you see both J.K. Simmons and Jon Bernthal, or do you see their parts kind of being done with?
I don't know. I mean, I'll say J.K. Simmons just because I love seeing him in anything.
Yeah.
You know, if he's not busy doing other things. But,
Commissioner Gordon.
Commissioner Gordon. Yeah.
Whiplash 2. Whiplashed.
Stop.
You'll be rushed and you will be dragged.
So anyway, yeah, it's fine. J.K. Simmons can come back. I don't care.
Starring the Miles Bank Teller.
Oh. Watch them bring Matt Damon, but like it's his character from Good Will Hunting.
You joke. You joke. But I would pay good money to see a Good Will Hunting and the Accountant crossover. Although Ben Affleck is in Good Will Hunting,
Yeah,
so that
really
doesn't really work unless Ben Affleck like kills the other bum Ben Affleck. Bum Affleck. Like, that could be interesting. Or the Accountant and Jason Bourne crossover.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I'm here for it.
Better
Whatever.
yet, better yet. Ben Affleck was the accountant for Treadstone. He was the bookkeeper for Treadstone in the Bourne movies. Like
Let it die. Let that series die. It's okay. You got 3 really solid movies and Legacy. Four pretty solid movies and Legacy. So we really
What's Legacy?
don't need.
What's the Bourne Legacy?
That's the one that doesn't have Matt Damon for some
The
reason.
one that doesn't exist, that they never made?
Look, I've been
The
saying
one that has Oscar Isaac in it?
Yeah, and Jeremy Renner.
Oscar Isaac, as much as I love him, has been in some real bad movies.
Yes, he's been trying, man. He just tries.
Speaking of trying, y'all should try and get some Uncharted Media merch at TeePublic, which is our sponsor as per usual. If you ever need any Uncharted Media merch, whether it's shirts, t-shirts, mugs, notebooks, whatever, you can find it in the link in the description. It helps out the show, and if you like what you see, we're thinking about doing some more designs at some point down the road, so if you like Uncharted Media merch, go check that out, and maybe at some point we'll do like a aluminum foil hat, shirt, or whatever else. It's time to talk Shang-Chi, because yes, please. Now, I am not going to lie. I went into this movie really, really hesitant, just because I thought the trailers were all just kind of fine. Not bad, but not necessarily like the best that they could have put forward. And then you see the movie, and you understand why. Because as we're going to talk about in this spoiler-filled discussion, so again, last call, if you've not seen Shang-Chi, back away now. If you don't care about spoilers, stick with us. The reason the trailers are kind of lackluster is because they only showed the first 25 minutes in all the trailers. Like, they really pulled in Avengers Endgame when all those Endgame trailers just showed the beginning when them going after Thanos. They did the exact same thing here. That bus fight that you see in all the trailers is at the beginning. But how good was that bus fight, bro?
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to be straight with you, and I texted this to you. I knew I was in for a treat when they physically snapped a man's neck on screen and you heard the crack. I was like, oh, Marvel doesn't do that. That's, okay. And then just from there, we're just going all the time. And that bus fight is a wonderful, tasty morsel of the beginning of a feast that is Shang-Chi. Golly. I don't know where to start, man. It's such a good movie.
Let's start with the main man himself, Simu Liu. I love him so much in this. I was not familiar with his work. I know some people know him from a show called Kim's Convenience, which is really popular and it got canceled recently, I think. He's quickly in this movie becomes one of my favorite Marvel characters just for his, I don't want to say unusual charisma, but it kind of is, because like Tony Stark had this presence to him, Steve Rogers had this presence to him. His Shang-Chi has a very human and relatability to him that you don't see in any other Marvel character. Like, you just immediately understand him and you just like him. He's not like the overly confident hero, but he's still pretty confident in who he is. Like, he just seems like the super chill dude that you just want to kick back and hang out with. He's refreshingly different. Like, he's not like awkward like Spider-Man, but he's not cocky like Tony. He's just normal. And I really liked him. It made it all the better when he becomes who he was destined to be by the end. You're just like, this is some earned heroics right here.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is two things. One, I think something that makes him such a likable character right off the bat is you can see where his heart is, and that it's not like it's kind of like how that one scene in Captain America: First Avenger when he's like, "I can do this all day," or when he jumps on the grenade, it was like, okay, that's who he is. For me, it's that first like five minutes or whatever when we meet him and he wakes up, he like goes sees his best friend, they have fun at work, they go to karaoke bars afterwards, and then they talk, like it's just like such a good relatability. Like
we can't
this
overlook
is a guy
though. We can't
Katie is fantastic.
We can't overlook though. I really appreciated seeing the look of when he goes to visit Aquafina, the dynamic that he has not just with her but with her family of like seeing, hey, we leave this spot at the table empty for people that have gone ahead of us. Like it's a nice, refreshing look at a clearly different culture than our own, but done in such a respectful and enlightening way of just like, this is a different way that the world lives, and doing it so respectfully of just, I don't know, it's just so humanly relatable about it. And also, thank God they didn't set him and Aquafina up. I would have been okay with them being a couple, but I like the idea that you can just have men and women be friends and just be platonic friends in this.
Yeah. And I think the coolest part too is like you don't even see a hint in Katie at all about that she like finds Shane attractive at all until his shirt is off like halfway into the movie. And even then, like when he's about to fight, he was like, huh.
And even then, she's not really flirting with him. She's just like, where'd your shirt go, dude?
Yeah, like, oh, I didn't know you had that money. Okay, cool, whatever. Like, and I think that's a testament to her character and the actress who's playing her. Is like she's just, I think to me, she is the most relatable character of Marvel history, period. She's just, and I think she's like the best friend. To me, I think she is our voice in the movie in that, and like, gosh, she's just such a good friend. Like, Shane's like, literally like, I killed a dude. I'm sorry. And she's like, but who are you now? Like, that's fine. Like, don't worry about it. I was just like, yeah, man. Like, oh, good friendship. And even like towards the end, I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but even when at the end, when she lays her head on his shoulder and they kind of have like a little moment there at the end, it was like, that still feels very platonic.
Yeah.
Very, and even towards that first end credit scene, still feels very platonic and very like, yeah, like best friends. Absolutely.
But yet at the same time, like if anything happens to her, oh, he gonna ruin your day.
He will kill everyone.
And he will do it. Because going into this, you're just like, how is a guy that's really good at kung fu going to be on par with other Avengers? Oh no, don't get me wrong, he's not on par with Avengers. He would whoop most of the Avengers that are currently on the roster. Like, oh my God, he's like a broken video game character almost. Like,
and that's before he gets the rings.
Yeah.
Like, oh, dude. But when he like legitimately murders people on screen. And
okay, speaking of murder,
yes,
a weird transition, but go with me here. I was really, really glad that they actually deleted a line that was in the trailers. Do you remember in one of the trailers, they're at the dinner scene, and he says something along the lines of, he's just a criminal who murders people. I thought that line in the trailer was so god-awful and so poorly delivered, and I think Marvel agrees because that line does not show up in the movie. I was waiting for it because in all the trailers, Shang-Chi just seemed charismatic and seemed very natural, and then that, for some reason, line of dialogue just felt so unnatural. It was kind of like Rogue One, I rebel. Like, it was so awful that it doesn't even end up in the final movie because even the people cutting it are like, yeah, that doesn't work. But yeah, he straight up murders people in this movie.
He does. Okay, so let's all right, I think I'm gonna give my final like overall thoughts, and then we should just kind of go through the film.
Yeah, well, as best as I can because I saw it on Friday, so I'm trying to remember as best as I can.
I feel you. I saw it yesterday. I'm still like, ugh.
Yeah, so you're fresh.
The two things I want to say right off the bat that I think I appreciated the most. One, and I think it speaks to them taking that line out, is the moral grayness of his dad.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that what drives him is not that he's an evil dude. He wants his wife back, and so he's going through all the means that he has in order to get his wife back, because he knows at its core it's his fault. And I love that his kids embrace that. And like, my dad asked me, so is his sister, is she gonna be bad now? Is that? I was like, dude, I don't know, and I'm okay if she is. I'm okay if she's not. I'm okay if she just stays right there where she has been. She's not necessarily a bad person, but she's
just because you bad guy does not make you bad guy.
Bad guy, yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Zangief.
I really, really love that it speaks to the moral greatness all the way up to the point where you do find out that he is not the big bad. The thing that driving the big bad, big quotation marks there, is not something that any of the main characters could really do anything about to stop up until they get certain abilities and whatnot. The other thing I appreciate is, and I want to say this as clearly as I can, I almost teared up at the scene in the skyscraper when he's fighting his ex-trainer. Because, first of all, great scene all the way leading up to that point. And then it's like, all right, cool, we are here. This is a big showdown. We saw this little clip in the trailer. Cool. And then it's almost as close to a one-shot as you can get. No weird slow-mo. Great camera angles. They're showing everything, and it just goes. And I was just like, this is beautiful. How do you, like, it was just so, like you said, Marvel has heard my complaints, apparently, of like, I want to see the action. Like, show me that stuff. Like, to the point my brother Philip was like, could you imagine if they took that style of filming and put it onto Winter Soldier, where you can see everything? I was like, that's so, like, because I love Winter Soldier, but, like, adding that, like, just the camera's not a part of the action, it's watching the action. And the choreography in general in this movie is fantastic, and I just can't. I want to watch it again just for the choreography. Like, it's just so good.
Oh yeah, when it comes available on home video, I'm gonna be rewatching the bus fight over and over again, because I think the bus fight, even more so than the skyscraper fight, was the perfect showcase of his actual hand-to-hand combat skills. Mm-hmm. That felt more like a traditional martial arts scene, whereas the skyscraper scene felt more like a traditional Jackie Chan action scene of working from the ground up, using environmental stuff for both escape and for damage. I kind of very much got like a Police Story vibe when he was running away. And the bus fight, like the split kick, we squealed at in the trailer because it was so good. But the word I kept going with was the fluidity of the bus fight. It was so smooth. Like, it just transitions. It's like a really well choreographed wrestling match of just transitions so perfectly into the next move, and everyone's just hitting their spots perfectly. It was gorgeous. And then you got the bad guy from Creed 2 in Ivan Drago as Razor Fist, who falls a little bit in the cheesy, cliched 80s muscle, but he's still endearing and he's still fun. He still works, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of him going forward. But yeah, the choreography was so brilliant. The music that accompanied every fight scene just matched so well. Like, yes, I'm getting into this. Like, the skyscraper fight, like, it was very different sounding style than most MCU movies, and I really, really appreciated that. It very much leaned into its traditional roots for its sound, which I think helps immerse you more into the world, which I really, really dug.
Well, and I like that, like, especially in this, people are dying. Like, the consequences of every action are, for the most part, shown. Like, so when somebody gets thrown out the window, you're like, oh yeah, that man's dead. Like, there's no way he's alive. And I think when you're talking about fluidity, to me, they treat even their little side characters, their little, henchmen, like, I don't know, these guys are still trained killers. So while Shang-Chi is really good, they are also good, and if Shang-Chi screws up, they will kill him. So it's like, they actually treated their henchmen with like a level of respect of like, yo, like these guys are all trained killers, and we need to treat them as such. And that's very evident in the train in the bus scene, and really like throughout the whole movie. It doesn't matter if you're just a henchman. You are a dangerous person, and I appreciate that a lot. I think it brought some seriousness to all of the fights.
One of my only real complaints, besides I think the ending, but we'll get there, is Death Dealer, who is the person that trains Shang-Chi as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I think was really, really underutilized, just because I think that design was so cool, and the look and the fights were so well done. But then you really look into it and you realize Death Dealer is not a big comic book character, like, at all. Like, shows up in 4 issues and that's about it. I'm going, well, then don't make your character look so cool, because he kind of looks like a hybrid between the bad guy from Big Hero 6 and something from Avatar, like, merged into one. And his fighting style was so fluid, and I love the mask. And then you just kind of MCU sidekicked him. Like, he went out so unceremoniously. You're just like, but he looks so cool, and I was gonna get his pop figure. Now he's a loser that dies.
But like he goes out though and I think a part of that was to show how dangerous the creatures were. Was like, it doesn't matter how dangerous
I get
you
that,
are,
but it felt like he kind of went out like a wimp when, like,
I mean, I
no
agree.
other bad guy went out like that. Well, except for one. Except for one.
Yeah. It's his mask. Unfortunately, reminded me a lot of the Three Little Ninjas movies. I don't know if you ever saw those. Is that a no?
I remember Three Ninjas.
Oh, Three Ninjas, whatever.
Like Three Ninjas on Mega Mountain.
It's the 3 kids, man.
Yeah, that's Three Ninjas.
Yeah. So all 3 of their masks look exactly like Death Dealer's mask, and you can't tell me otherwise. You'll see it, and you won't be able to unsee it.
Well, now if I can't get Death Dealer's Funko Pop just because he's a pansy, can I please have a Morris pop figure? Because Morris was my favorite character in this movie by far. Morris, a headless, buttless dog with wings. Sounds weird, but I need more Morris in my life. Now I'm just picturing Morris in some of the best MCU scenes of like Avengers Assemble. A headless, buttless dog thing.
Dude, and like bringing up Morris, like how gracefully did they handle the whole Trevor thing? I really, really appreciated them being like, yeah, some American terrorists wanted to scare people, so they brought in a Asian stereotype and then named him after a chicken dish. Like, how terrible is that? Like, even Trevor's like, yeah, it was kind of weird, man, and I don't know.
But I got paid.
I got paid. That's all that matters. And I got clean.
It's the best acting I've ever done.
I mean, he's such a treat the rest of the movie too. Like his little bit about the Planet of the Apes still makes me laugh, because they're all like waiting for, like, so it's the Frozen moment when they're like, somebody gonna tell him? Somebody want to tell him? No, okay, nobody's gonna tell him. All right, cool.
Like, it's such a good joke though too. For those that don't remember, he's just like, Planet of the Apes changed my life. They taught those apes to ride horses. And we're just like, nope, that's not it. But
oh man, and they're all like, he's like, that's when I realized they didn't teach the monkeys how to ride horses. And you're like, okay, cool, he's almost there. And he's like, they taught the monkeys how to act like they were riding horses. I was like, no, dang it, Trevor.
But Trevor was. It was also a good way to. I still very much hate Iron Man 3 because of the Mandarin twist, but it's a good way to kind of retcon that, because Marvel always planned that Mandarin twist. That's always what the plan was, to later introduce Shang-Chi down the road. That's always what the plan was. How dare you think otherwise? But the entire cast, Shang-Chi was great. Morris was great. Let's talk about Tony Leung as Wenwu, as the main quote-unquote antagonist before we get to the ending. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we've ever had a more sympathetic and conflicting main villain. Like, you can make a case for maybe Michael Keaton's Vulture, but That's probably the closest. Like, Marvel is finally improving their villains between Thanos, Killmonger, Vulture, and now Wenwu. He's so good. And I saw some people complaining about the out of order timeline, but to me, it always made sense because of when things were revealed. Like, if we got a full 20-minute flashback dump, I don't think it would have been as effective of just like... I was actually waiting for most of this movie for the reveal that the mom's not dead, and they did like an Aquaman situation of show that the mom's still alive, and that will turn the dad. Oh no, the mom's dead in like a horrible way, going out at the hands of like 50 people. But you immediately fall for both the mom and the dad because their connection of like when they meet, you're like, oh, this is nice. And he was normal at one point. And also, tell me you didn't get nostalgia flashbacks seeing the family do Dance Dance Revolution. You're like, oh, my feet are tired just looking at this.
Yeah, he is fantastic. Like, he's the moral greatness. And I think what I was taken aback because up until the point you meet him, both Shane and his sister are both like, nah, he's a terrible human being. He did this to us. This is what his place in the world is like, blah, blah, blah. And then you meet him, and he's charming. He's caring. He seems like he cares about the people around him. And, like, all the way up to the moment where he blames Shang-Chi for the death of his mom because... he was like, why didn't you stop them? Why didn't you do anything? And he was like 6.
And there's like 50 dudes.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this man is just broken. This is the man and he does such a good job of portraying the guy that has all the power in the world and has all the money in the world, but it's love that broke him down. He's such a good villain all the way up into the end.
And the mom was great. I also really, really dug Michelle Yeoh as Shang-Chi's aunt. So, like, the sister of the wife. Not a big role, but an important one. The moment I knew this was going to be Josh's favorite MCU movie was the first time that Wenwu meets his soon-to-be wife, Shang-Chi's mom, and they fight for the first time, quote-unquote, fight. Oh. I was like, holy crap, you were just going full balls to the wall classic martial arts movie here. Yep. Like... I was like, Josh is going to dig this.
Oh! I can't even tell you how much I was smiling. And, like, can we just point out to the fact, like, the first, I want to say close to 20 minutes are very subtitle heavy.
Yes.
Like, how cool is it?
I appreciated that they didn't have the Asian actors speaking English.
I think, and it added to the authenticity of the characters themselves, of, like, and even, like, speaking... Throughout the rest of the movie, speaking Mandarin and Cantonese to each other whenever they it just felt so natural and a part of the world, and I appreciated it so much. But yeah, that, and then when she like does the thing, and I was like, oh hey, it's a panda kung fu panda moment. Here we go. All right, cool.
You're just waiting for the kung fu panda music to kick in, and her chi aligns, and it Hadouken.
Oh, bro, hey, man, given the fact that ancient creatures exist now,
and then
Kung Fu warriors,
at the end, when Shang-Chi does his mom's move, which is
let's go.
So good. It's like, so, you have been watching Kung Fu Panda, which if we do not get a Kung Fu fighting panda in the sequel, which it could theoretically happen. If we can have a headless, buttless dog with wings, we can have a martial arts panda in the MCU. Bring in Jack Black to the MCU, please. I don't care How would you feel about Jack Black as the Thing?
Nope.
just throwing that out there.
No. As much as I love Jack Black, I don't think that he doesn't personally fit.
It's clobbering time.
Hey, it's clobbering time. Skinny, that doesn't work.
It's the school of clobbering time.
Yeah.
As he punches Dr. Doom, skadoosh.
Like, oh, it's so good. Yeah. There's just so much I love about this movie.
Just can't even think of words.
I legitimately, my dad asked me how I felt about it when we left the theater, and I was like, it's so good. I don't know. There's just so much respect they have for the source material that when the source material, this is what's key to me, I think, is they took source material that is borderline racist and pretty
bland
stereotypical.
as heck.
Yeah,
boring,
super bland and racist, and just like really leaned in and really leans on stereotypes of the day, and makes it super respectful to the culture, makes it super interesting and entertaining, to the point where, like, the coolest thing about the movie is not the dragon at the end. Like, how do you, like, the dragon
looked
was
a little
cool.
weird, I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it looked pretty traditional for dragons, but
no, not like weird design wise. Weird as in like, so you're like 95% done with the CGI, but the last
yes.
5.
Yeah, but like it just like that's a really cool character, and it's not the coolest thing about your movie. Like how do you pull that off? Like it's just, I think to me, and I get it when people hear Chapek say this is an experiment. Like I see where Chapek is saying is like this is not necessarily a quote unquote mainstream kind of content that we're used to, but at the same time, that's not what makes it an experiment. This is a triumph, if anything. It is like anime is more mainstream than you think, jerk. Anyway,
like if this is not in the MCU and it was just a standalone martial arts movie, I would still love it because honestly, it really didn't even have that many ties to the MCU. You've got some disappointing end credits, which people hyped up the end credits for so long. They're like, oh, the mid credits, people are standing up and cheering in my theater, people are losing their mind. I see it and I'm going, can I have my money back for just the end credits? Because the end credits set up future things. The mid credits, I know they set up future things, but don't say that people were like stood up and cheered in your audience. Like it really was not that exciting. Yeah. It was human Dr. Banner again, cool, and Captain Marvel with long hair. Cool. It's not like they're just like, oh, it's a beacon for dangerous things out there, and then like Galactus or something, or like some tease for that. Or what I said they should have done as the end credits of there's a Wong or somebody else, or maybe even Michelle Yeoh's character would be like, now because you are the King of the Ten Rings, you need to be willing it at a moment's notice to defend those, and just drop it there, because I swear to God, the next movie better be Shang-Chi and the Iron Fist. I think Iron Fist is the direction they're going. Obviously, the end credits did tease Fin Fang Foom coming, but whatever. I don't care about Fin Fang Foom as much as I care about Shang-Chi and Iron Fist squaring off. And there's really no Iron Fist teases. However, you've got that one scene where it's the mom or the aunt is wearing the green tunic with the yellow trim that I'm like, those colors seem familiar.
Here's the thing, man. If they do that, I want it traditional style.
Oh, so, yeah,
like,
they're recasting Iron Fist for sure.
I'd want Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Iron Fist. Because it'd be a harken back to their source material, whatever, but also to the classic Kung Fu movie, The Man with the Iron Fist.
But that's the problem, is this one is called Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So to have two back-to-back Legend of movies.
Bro, like, who are you talking to? I give no crap.
Yes, Tom Hardy's going to show up as Iron Fist.
No, he can't. He's obviously getting ready to be Wolverine.
He's going to be Wolverine Fist.
Wolverine. Oh, that's horrifying. Kind of like the idea of Spider-Man Sorcerer Supreme. That's absolutely terrifying. Which I need to catch up on What If really bad. I have not.
They're hit or miss, but this past week was pretty good. But yeah, Iron Fist is coming. I think they will. I know some people are like, oh, we might get Charlie Cox's Daredevil in No Way Home. I'm going, are we going to get a completely recasted Iron Fist in the next Shang-Chi? Because seriously, that has to be the end goal. Like, you've got the greatest Kung Fu fighter and the other greatest Kung Fu fighter in MCU of Iron Fist out there somewhere. Just please don't stick with the Netflix version, because you yourselves have finally acknowledged that that's not canon. And it was awful. and you have a chance to redeem yourself because you showed in this movie that you can actually properly update somewhat bland and uninteresting costumes. Like, I think his Shang-Chi's uniform in this that he wears at the end is leaps and bounds better than his gi in the comics. I think that's just very generic and straightforward. Also, I appreciate any superhero that still wears Jordans in their final fight. If you look carefully, he still has just regular kicks on. Like, he doesn't change those out at all. Him and Miles will just stick to wearing red and black Jordans, and I actually fully appreciate that.
I like the amount of people wearing Chacos in this movie is awesome too. Like, there's so much. I think the thing I need more explanation on is Han's relationship with Abomination. First of all, Abomination is a thing. Second of all, he's friends with Han.
Wong.
Oh,
Han is Fast and Furious. Wow, you are.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Let's not get our Asian actors mixed up, dude.
Yeah, I feel my brain is bad.
Abomination's
but
been
still.
around for like 10 years. Just Marvel wanted you to forget about him because he's Hulk, and Hulk is legal headache for Disney to this day.
But like, Wong, I need that relationship explained.
Why do I feel
right away, please?
That feels like it's going to be like a Disney one shot on Disney Plus of just like Wong and the Abomination go to the grocery store or something. Like,
and like, way to make one like a super fun character now.
I mean, he's always been a fun character.
He has, but like brings it out of the shadow of Doctor Strange. He's like his own thing now too.
As of right now, I like Wong more than Doctor Strange.
Oh my gosh, I think my favorite thing right now is the people being like, do you really think that Doctor Strange, like, and this is like always in the defense of like, it's actually Mephisto. I was like, shut up.
Mephisto.
First of all, Mephisto, you know what I mean. But they're always like, do you really think like anything about Doctor Strange's personality would say that he would just, I don't know, change space and time for a teenager? And then somebody's always like, you mean the guy that was driving 90 on the side of a cliff while texting? That guy that's not reckless?
And listen to Chuck Mangione while doing surgery?
Like, yeah, but yeah, Shang-Chi is great. I think we are definitely heading in the direction, especially with the mid-credit scene, we are definitely heading in the direction of Celestials becoming a big deal. I have no doubt in my mind now that Galactus is on the way.
But
that's especially if it with the all the rumors with Fantastic Four, it makes sense.
Yeah, I think we will get it, but I think that'll be a very slow burn, even unfortunately slower burn than Thanos. Like, if anything, we will get like an Avengers movie, and at the end of that Avengers movie, we'll get like a Silver Surfer tease or something. Like Galactus, I think will be coming, but we've got that. To me, I've always thought with Galactus has to be like the last resort, because honestly, where do you go after Galactus? Like, you can bring in like a Nihilus or somebody else, but Galactus is like the be all end all. He's literally the planet killer. And I wouldn't be, I see them with them introducing the multiverse. I would not be complain at all if, because it's Disney, I could see them doing this. Galactus eats the worlds of other Marvel movies. So if he eats, people are gonna hate me, but if he eats Raimi's Spider-Man's world, or Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man's world, or Fox X-Men's world, like that,
and that's why those characters are showing up. Ooh, I like that a lot.
What can I say except you're welcome?
You're welcome. Even if that is the case, I don't see Galactus like properly showing up until maybe the end of Phase 6, depending on how long Phase 5 is. But yeah, I will probably be married and have children.
Or dead.
Galactus shows up. Oh, yeah, because I have had a running joke for a while that I'll be dead by 35. But anyway, which is only 6 years from now. Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about something else that doesn't make me feel old. Josh
quickly Googles how many concussions before death.
That's That's why I think I laughed so hard in the Jackass trailer. It was like, man, concussions suck, but as long as you have them before 50, you think you're fine.
And Knoxville's
And
49.
Yeah, so he's good.
Okay, let's dive into some. We'll finish out with some more positives, but let's delve into some negatives because I think there's no movie's perfect. I think there are some negatives. It didn't throw me off, but I can forgive people if the ending took some people out of it. Like, we very much grounded this movie with some otherworldly elements, with the 10 rings themselves being some form of supernatural. But I can understand why people would not be down with all of a sudden a gigantic sea dragon coming out of nowhere and fighting a evil demon from the underworld. I didn't mind that. What I did mind was some of the CG I thought did not look incredibly polished or finished. Like, it could have used a little bit more. It also kind of felt like an easy way out for the villain of just like, all right, you don't have to be responsible for your own actions. But those are really like my only real nitpicks. Other than that, like, I thought it was paced incredibly well. I think they had the right balance of humor. Like, they didn't overuse it. I only had issue with the humor one time, and that was when Shang-Chi was explaining his life story to Katie, and then, like, just midway through the scene, the waitress is just like, do you want beef or sausage? Oh. And it's just like, we were kind of in the middle of a story here, and then they, like, don't go back to the story. They just sort of like, I guess we'll just talk. I'm like, it just was so jarring, and the joke didn't really land. It was like a Family Guy joke. Like, it either works for you, or it really doesn't, and they'll keep dragging it out, insisting that the joke will work for you at some point. But I appreciate that Marvel did not lay the humor on too thick. Like, Aquafina, I thought was perfectly utilized in this movie. I thought she was going to be more of a comedic relief, but she was a fully fleshed out and competent character with her own little arc that was really, really well done. It's not saying it wasn't devoid of humor. There's still some really good laughs, but it wasn't like typical laugh a minute, which I actually thought worked better for this movie.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I would have the problem with the villain switch at the end if Shang-Chi's dad didn't die. Because, like, to me, that was the consequences of his actions was, oh, I fell into heartbreak so badly, so much that I even fought my own son, and in reality released an evil creature. That is the consequence. And the fact that the thing that takes his life is the creature that he releases, I think is even more, I don't want to say comeuppance, but, like, that's the consequences, unfortunately. And to me, for that creature, that was always the plan. There was never a scenario where his dad was going to make it out. So I don't have as much of a problem as that. I do think, while I understood it, I think how he kills the creature could have been a little bit more clear.
Yes.
I get it in that, to me, I saw all the rings moving around, and it had been somewhat clear that it's not like the rings still occupy physical space. So I saw them moving around inside the creature, like, oh, it's tearing that thing up inside. And then when he released them out, it was like, oh, okay, cool. So it's destroying him from the inside out. Okay, cool. I'm down. Fine. But it definitely could have been a lot clearer about. And then that airplane joke, it didn't. The only reason I didn't mind it was to me, it was like, oh yeah, that's exactly what happens on airplanes. Yeah, okay, okay. I mean, it's
restaurants.
A little annoying.
Like, when the server comes up for some reason, just out of force of habit, you just stop your conversation. Yeah. Like, even if it's not important, you're just like, I'm uncomfortable talking about just my life.
Yeah. So, like, I agree that it was pretty jarring, but the certain aspect of it was like, okay, yeah, I feel that. And I totally understand where you're coming from. And even, like, how they tell their stories to each other to the other couple over the table. I was like, yeah, that's how you tell stories to people when you're talking. I was like, I don't know. That's more positive, negative. I agree. Death Dealer should have been utilized more. Other than just the really cool trainer who has a couple good fights.
Still got treated better than what's his face in Black Widow.
Yeah, yeah, you're not wrong. I'm trying to think of like actual negatives because there's so much. I have to really really nitpick, which is saying a lot. I maybe I want to say maybe set up like the existence of the dragon a little bit more, but they do a really good job of laying hints throughout the movie
Yeah.
that like dragons are real and not and all that stuff. Maybe a little bit of CGI in the end. They definitely made it a little darker to kind of save themselves a little bit in that scene. And there's some camera work in that CGI fight that could have been a little bit better.
I would have put the camera a little further out, like more wide shots.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little too many close-ups of just like, you have these big things, shoot them wide.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think the scene where Razor Fist is like, I'm not going to fall for that. You're going to have to, no way, there's not another thing coming, blah, blah, blah. And then the thing kills one of his guys, and he's like, yeah, let's work together. I think I would have taken a few beats longer to do that.
It's the exact same joke from the Avengers. Why should we listen to you?
And that's my point. That's my point, is that the timing of that one is better. Mm-hmm. It doesn't quite snap and it doesn't give as much of the comedic snap as it probably could have if they had just waited maybe like a beat or two more. But like, I'm really nitpicking here. There's so much I love about this movie that, like, there's so many actors that I never thought would be in quote unquote mainstream films that are in this movie that I've been watching for so many years. Like, weird thing, and I have to look it up to confirm. But did you ever watch Kung Pao?
Yes.
Okay, you know the villain in that guy in that? I'm almost certain, and I have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure the villain in that movie is the same guy that's the Bo teacher in Shang-Chi.
I'm not sure. I have to look
that up.
I'm assuming you saw the Kung Fu Hustle poster in his room and flipped out.
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding me? Yes. But like, it's just, there's so much about this movie to like, I think. And again, this is speaking as someone who's kind of grown up and has loved Kung Fu movies for a long time. And a lot of Asian culture and anime and all these sorts of things, that this is such a celebration of Eastern culture that it's hard for me to not enjoy it.
Now, if you had to, where do you see like the sequels of the future Shang-Chi movies going?
That's tough, because if we're heading in the direction of the Celestials, I don't know how much more we're going to spend in that world until we come back to Iron Fist. I don't know. I think I'm with you. I just think go back, get Iron Fist involved, and then that's all I hate to say that's all I need from that world, but I don't know enough about the world of Shang-Chi to really have like a solid thing of like, hey, let's do more in this kind of realm, other than, hey, let's go and get these characters involved and then bring them back and stuff like that. I see completely. I think it's completely natural for him to get involved with Strange and some of those people. I'll be interested to see what they do with Katie, because
that's where I was going with it.
Yeah, I don't see her staying the same kind of person she is, not like in character work, but like just the girl that happens to be good at shooting bows. I don't see that still being her. I don't know exactly what they would do with her, but I could totally see her getting some kind of powers later on, making her own fleshed out hero of some sort.
Now, I wasn't thinking Katie. I was actually thinking his sister. I wouldn't be surprised if we get Iron Fist, and I swear the next one is probably going to be Iron Fist. It just makes the most sense. You just got this. You're now more officially the title of the best martial artist in the world. Well, someone's going to challenge you for that, obviously. But then they'll be like Batman versus Superman. God, the two of them working together in like a raid-style scene, maybe to get back the rings. So, we already saw the skyscraper with his sister. Imagine the MCU version of the raid with Shang-Chi and Iron Fist having to climb story by story to get to the top of his sister's building to get his rings back from his sister. Because I think at some point, Shang-Chi will have to fight his sister because she'll want the rings. She's clearly being set up to be the next quote-unquote Mandarin type. So maybe she gets the rings, and him and Iron Fist have to go raid style, floor by floor, without the rings.
What if... So she's trying to... we're just spitballing here, obviously. But, so... yummy. She's rebuilding. She said she wants to rebuild the Ten Rings to its former glory, but then also make it something of her own. What if, at some point, Rand Industries gets involved with the Ten Rings, and so that's your connection. And so maybe I'm trying to figure out how to get Danny there, but
she teams up with the Hand.
You could absolutely.
She gets overzealous now that she rules the Ten Rings. She wants to rule the Hand as well.
So it says because at the end of the movie it says the Ten Rings will return, and I was like, okay, well, what if? And this seems kind of, the naming of things is a little weird, but like, what if they did Iron Fist and the Ten Rings is the next movie, and so it's instead of the physical Ten Rings, it's Danny Rand versus the Hand and the Ten Ring gang. I don't know. It'd be an interesting play. I don't know how to get everything involved, but I agree. I think she's going to turn into somebody that while her character is so well developed in Shang-Chi, I think she's going to, much like her father, her obsession with power and building a life of her own is going to definitely change her going forward, I think.
Yeah. Well, where are we?
Ooh.
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 Well, what'd you guys think? Have you seen Shang-Chi? If so, what'd you guys think about it? What are some of your thoughts and opinions of what they should do going forward? Do you hope they bring in Iron Fist? Do you think they'll go in more of a celestial direction and bring in more of the cosmic threats? What'd you guys think? Did you like it? Did you not? We always like hearing from you guys, so comment down below. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube, as we're really, really close to 500 subscribers, and we want to get over that threshold so we can start moving on to the next big threshold after that. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on whatever audio platform you're listening to us on, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or YouTube. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.